Hey kids, this is Ivan. How you doing? I played another session of Call of Cthulhu last night. It's the third one that we've played since we started. We're going to have to take a break next week, but hopefully we'll be back a week later. So session 3, this time we have 3 characters. Myself as the reporter, and we have Joe as the photographer, and now we've had Brian join us as the antiquarian. It's been really, really cool. It was a one humdinger of a session. It was pretty awesome, and I can't wait till Anthony puts them up on YouTube because I think they'll be pretty enjoyable to watch. And so was something else. But there was something interesting that happened in that session, and also that my friend Eloy was talking about today to Anthony and myself. And he had seen the video I made, and he was thinking about it. He said, is there a real difference? Like once you've actually rolled the dice, you even invoked the mechanic, because that video I made was talking about using the sanity mechanic in something like Call of Cthulhu. Once you've done that, once you've rolled these dice, is it really going to make a difference whether you say what you got or whether people just look? Is it going to make a difference if the game master tells you to roll for sanity or simply points to the sanity dice? Is it going to make a difference if somebody says how many sanity points you've lost, or whether they just hold the fingers, all this kind of stuff. And so I thought about it, and I thought about my experience last night, because it really was kind of interesting. At one point, a sanity roll was called for, and by this time, my character's sanity was whittled down to, I believe, 60. And so, and a number of unsettling events had happened, which prompted Anthony to say, well, let's just see how unsettled you are. And so at that point, I kind of knew that he was asking me for a sanity roll. So I pick up the dice. I've got a sanity of 60. I roll an 88. Well, that's bad. I actually just rolled 0-1, which is really good. But I rolled 88. That's bad because that's a failure against a score of 60. Because in BRP, you want to roll the skill or underneath. So I wanted to roll 60 or less. I did not. I rolled an 88. So at that point, I know that I failed. I'm really, really, if you watch this this video, when he finally puts it up, I'm in character. I'm really experiencing what it's like to be this young man, Terrence McSweeney, as he's faced with just the impossible, the upsetting. And so I'm really kind of feeling that. It's not acting. I'm really kind of right in there. And, it was when I had to speak and say, I've rolled an 88 against 60, that I was the most, that was the most jarring. That took me out of the experience the most. I was like, why was that the case? Why was speaking the results more jarring than knowing it was time to roll sanity, picking up the dice, and seeing that 88? And one of the things is, like, I don't know, because I haven't read all the rules of Call of Cthulhu, because I wanted to go in kind of blind. I don't know if there are, gradations of failure against a sanity roll. I don't know if the margin by which you miss it makes a difference. I don't know if rolling doubles makes a difference. It might. I could have just said failed, or give a thumbs down. I could have just said failed. Would that have been less intrusive than saying I rolled an 88 against 60? Probably. But I think it would have been even less intrusive had I just indicated non-verbally that I'd failed. Because I certainly felt at that moment, I felt that I was like trying to hold on to sanity, so to speak. And I roll these dice, and I can see, I'm not. I get that kind of visual representation that this is the case. And if we were sitting at the table, everybody would see it. But I found it kind of interesting, as my friend Eloy is asking this question, that, I was reflecting on my experience last night, that like actually having to stop, not necessarily stop, but say those words was the most jarring, that took me the most out of that moment in character. And I'm wondering, is it using a different part of my brain? Is it something about verbally, saying the numbers, discussing the mechanic, all that sort of thing? Is that something that's more intrusive or more likely to take a person like myself away from that in-character immersion? And I thought today about all the various things that we do that don't seem to do it as much, because, we'll roll damage, we'll roll, to hit rolls, we'll roll attempts at doing things. And very often during a combat itself, I think, as I thought, stating a certain amount of damage that you've done, there's something about that that's a direct analog to, you know, when you score 8 points, man, that's pretty awesome. You just tooled this guy up versus you scored 2 points of damage and not quite as much. And there's some kind of direct analog that it just, you can kind of see the blow, if you will, in your mind. And you know, that number and saying that number maybe helps a little bit. Not so with this particular role, which I found kind of fascinating. And hopefully, Anthony makes a video about this topic because he had a lot more to say and was a lot meatier than what I, you know, was thinking about. And eventually, hopefully in his spare time, which he has almost none, he'll make a video about this as well and maybe go into a little bit more detail because he did give a very interesting response to Eloy about this. But I didn't feel like it was mine to say. But I can only talk about my own thoughts and my own experience. So that's it. Tonight I'll be running Quantum Black for the fellas, which will be very, very different. And hopefully you get a chance to see that on the channel. And that's it. The end.